Elumelu Foundation, leading champion for entrepreneurship in Africa. Our foundation is geared to empower women and youths, eradicating poverty, and enriching lives of Africans. So yeah, we did talk about impacting on African entrepreneurs and empowering them to do good to the African continent. So just before I pass it on to my director, there's a video today, and yeah, thank you.
The Tony Elumelu Foundation Job Entrepreneurship Program and trained over
training and seed capital.
Thanks to the Tony Elumelu Foundation entrepreneurship program, we've been able to structure our business and operations, but also we got the funding and financial means to concretize it and make it happen.
this is the impact toward direction by the Tony Elumelu Foundation. The Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program is sector agnostic. The only thing that is important, the future of Africa is in your hands.
Thank you very much. Just a round of applause. Thank you. My name is Ben Ogonbo, and our job here today is very simple. In fact, coming into this room today, I feel like I overdressed for the occasion, because I see everybody is on casual and just chilling. So yeah, but we'll find a way to make do. How many of us here remember the old hip-hop rivalry that goes on between the south side and the west side? Some of us who are above maybe up to 30 remember those old hip-hop rivalries. East and west, it was east and west. That's not a good joke. So if that was the case, then it would have been a very wide line between the two people sitting in the room. But I'm very happy with the conversation that we are having that is built around the legacy of Mandela and the work that he has done and the leadership that he's provided. And this week, hopefully this week, we are all sitting down together to remember leadership, to celebrate excellence, to celebrate commitment, to celebrate the work that one man taking a resolve can actually take steps that will begin to revolutionize the way we think about ourselves as a people. And it's interesting how many young people over the years have taken interest in understanding why he did what he did, what was the energy behind it, what was the philosophy, why was he so driven. And over the years, the conversation still goes on and is still relevant as we continue the journey of trying now to make more people, make more young people who are willing to take up that challenge of making a difference. And I think that's why we are sitting here. How do we create the next Mandelas? How do we come up and support the next young Africans who are willing to go out there and make a difference? And it's not different from what we have in the foundation. I'm the impact leader of the foundation for proper introduction, and I continue to support the monitoring and evaluation work for the foundation across the entire 54. So looking at the nature of my work, you will see that I happen to be that one person who is very much closer to the impact. I get to see what happens when it happens from the time we get entrepreneurs on board and to the point where we fund them and their journey begins from there. So we see all of that journey from the beginning up until the time where we are now beginning to share their success stories. So again, we're very privileged always to come in front of young people and stakeholders to have this conversation around entrepreneurship development as long as Africa is concerned. So thank you very much. Please a round of applause again for yourself. Thank you. So our task is simple. We just want to be able to talk to you about the work that we are doing across Africa as a foundation. and hope that we are able to now tie this conversation as to how we can use it to motivate, to inspire even more young people seated in this room and those connected online and those who get to watch this YouTube video much later, as to the importance of that, making that very critical decision to make a difference. It wouldn't matter if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, it would also matter if you're just trying to be maybe an educator or a scientist. But whatever it is that you've decided to do as an African, a young person in Africa, you would have to know from the Mandela story of what Mandela has done, how important it is that you have a clear vision even as an entrepreneur, how important it is that you would stick to that your vision and be resilient and have all the other skills that an entrepreneur would naturally have. So we're trying to link up the two together. But for the purpose of this session, we're going to be centering our conversation more around innovation and entrepreneurship across Africa. Does that work for us?
Yes.
All right. So I would like us to do it together. So the Tony Elumelu Foundation, the first slide. So ours is just to tell a story of the impact. The Tony Elumelu Foundation, like my colleague has said, is a leading philanthropy, empowering new generation of African entrepreneurs, to lead the conversation and drive the eradication of poverty, catalyzing job creation across all 54 countries, including women economic empowerment. Since our launch in 2015, we've been able to support over 18,000 entrepreneurs across the entire 54. Within this time also, we've been able to train over 1.5 million entrepreneurs and also been able to disburse over $100 million direct seed capital to the hands of these entrepreneurs. What has this done for us? Within this past few years, we've been able to see these entrepreneurs create over 400,000 direct and indirect jobs. At the time when the conversation started in 2015, there were very few voices that were talking about entrepreneurship in Africa. But when this conversation began as a commitment from our founder, Mr. Elumelu, to make an investment of 100 million over 10 years period, supporting 10,000 entrepreneurs who will go ahead to create jobs and generate revenue across Africa. The mindset or the mentality or the philosophy behind that commitment is that we believe that Afro-capitalism, which is our philosophy, is embedded around the drive that has to come from private sector in pushing whatever will become of economic development in Africa. We do believe that it is the job and remains the job of the private sector to drive that conversation. So our founder took that step of leadership and began what we now see as the Tony Elumelu Foundation and hence the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program. Next slide. Next. It's a bit of delay. Okay. So then how are we doing this? What's behind this philosophy? What's at the base of it? I oftentimes tell people that it's possible that you would have entrepreneurs with the right ideas that could change not just their community, but impact the world generally. But you may not be able to get to that entrepreneur, and that dream may not come to life if that entrepreneur does not have access to the right kind of support. So we would imagine that if things are to be done, I've met a lot of African entrepreneurs in some of my journeys to different African countries. A couple of days ago, I was in Rwanda, and off to the south part of Rwanda was a 3 hours drive from Kigali. And then you get to see some entrepreneurs within those communities who the foundation have funded within this period, 8 years period, and this is the 9th year, and I can't believe it's almost 10 years. And you would see these entrepreneurs, and you would ask them questions like, before the entrepreneurship program, have you been able to access or anyone give you support or funding or training, whatever, to support this vision that you have? And what you get to hear is that no one ever did that. And then we have from our impact assessment that 89% of the people that we have funded, will come to that in the later part of the conversation, would not have had any other access to any form of support without the work that the foundation has done with them. So you would imagine the gap that we continue to fill. In the past 5 years, we've had over 700,000 people click and show interest to apply for our program. But at the end of the day, we've been able to fund 18,000. That means we have a huge gap, a huge gap on our hands. So African entrepreneurs, young people who are interested in building their businesses to impact their communities, but they cannot find the right funding, the right support to be able to do that. So we decided to take the route of democratizing law. What does it mean to democratize law? So we're thinking, if you were to just walk into a bank as an entrepreneur with a fresh idea, how many banks are willing to support you? How many of us will know the story? As you have an idea, just walk into a bank. How many banks are willing to give you money? Perhaps not. Because the conversation is always about how do we ensure that we get our money back? You have no collateral, perhaps, and then your idea hasn't tested the market yet. So how do we know that you don't run away with our money? If you tell us you live here, we may not be able to find you the next day. So you're looking at the institutions across Africa. They're not so strong, especially the banking institution, to be able to guarantee that this money will come back or that this business will be successful and over the years will be able to pay. Now, we had to take the route that we did to democratize law to be able to get to that entrepreneur that ordinarily is not able to get funding from any financial institution. So we opened it up for everyone. So you can apply from wherever in the world, in Africa, and you have a business here in Africa, the idea or the business is already ongoing, it's at the prototype stage, at the startup stage. There's no discrimination in terms of age. We open it up for every African. And then we're telling you, apply and go through the process. And if you make it through the process, you will get the funding. I've talked to 2 entrepreneurs who said they couldn't believe it until the first day they got the hell out of that. I had to get to the bank to be sure that the money is there. Because you would imagine that nobody would be crazy enough to look at the idea and is able to fund it. If you look by my right, you will see some entrepreneurs that have also come to share their stories with the foundation. These ones are in Lagos, so it's a testament for you to see. So at the end of my presentation, they will take a few minutes and speak about their journey, the entrepreneur journey with us. Next slide, please. So how are we doing this? We're doing this with the pillars that you can see on the screen. So first of all, we have a robust infrastructure that allows us to be able to reach out to different entrepreneurs across Africa. Our TEFNet platform, the launch that we do in terms of application drive to get to every corner of Africa, ensuring that we even get to fragile communities. In fact, recently we published a report that have shown that we have funded people from more fragile contexts in our program, almost 80%. And by that we mean communities, rural communities, where people may not be able to have access. But we've been able to provide access and inclusive access. We decided to open up this training to everyone. And we said, hey, even if you're not going to get this funding, come get the training, and it's free. And we're ensuring that people do not only start, but as many as possible are also able to finish those trainings and get certificates. Then we have a system that provides mentoring. We also have our system that allows entrepreneurs to pitch their business ideas. What does this do for us? If you're able to stand in front of investors and pitch your business idea and you're able to convince these investors that your business is bankable, then I think you are one step closer to getting that business done. So through the process of getting you ready for pitching, we also get you ready to prepare a business plan. Then we have a TEF forum, what we call the largest gathering of entrepreneurs in Africa. It just keeps all entrepreneurs that we have funded from entire Africa, bring them to Nigeria for what we call the forum. where they now get to mingle, interact with other entrepreneurs, and continue that relationship as a family, a community that we have now created. That community is what we now call an extension, begins to form what we call the alumni meetups in small groups and clusters across Africa. Now, I spoke about our infrastructure and then the seed capital, the non-refundable seed capital of $5,000 that goes to these entrepreneurs after you have gone through the process. This is how we do what we are doing. Now, let's speak a bit about $5 million trained across Africa, of course more than 18,000 funded, and of course more than 100 million spent. What's coming out of it? Over 400,000 direct and indirect jobs. But what's critical about these jobs is that 58% of these jobs were created by women-owned businesses. And that for us is a very critical indicator to the work that we are doing. How does this translate to an encouragement for us in this room? It means that Africans can actually yield this kind of result if given the right kind of support. Young Africans can actually yield this kind of result if given this kind of support. And we can see $2.3 billion from 2015 generated in revenue by entrepreneurs owning small businesses across Africa. And again, speaking to the kind of revenue or income that they continue to make in terms of per capita, that is even 22 times more than the average income per capita in their corresponding countries. This is for us a very big deal, because these entrepreneurs are now beginning to raise sustainable businesses that can support their families. Next slide. Next slide. All right. So we also try to look at the sustainability in terms of the work that we're doing as it's contributing to sustainability. We are very world. So when you're looking at that population of young people, it would make sense that most of our intervention is around these young people. 16,400 of these entrepreneurs that we have funded from 2015 are between the ages of 18 and 36. So the major focus, no matter how we look at it, comes down to the young people. Next slide, please. But we've not done this alone, and I always try to put it out there that part of our impact over these years is that we've also been able to engineer or create some partnerships that have helped us to scale the work that we are doing. At the beginning, we had the plan to fund 10,000 entrepreneurs within 10 years, but it's 8 years and we've been able to fund over 18,000. How did we get to almost double of that number within 8 years? Because we explored partnerships. And for the place we are going to, for the direction that we are going to, or whatever it is that we decide after this engagement in this 1 week, we would require partnership. And that's what we have done with the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program. We've expanded ourselves to the point where we are telling the world that we are ready to take a lot of partnership as much as possible to be able to reach this much African entrepreneurs. We're not only looking at funded partners, next slide, we're also looking at some partners that have continue to support the research collaborations that we are doing. We're collaborating with different organizations. of every intervention that we continue to offer, you will see that it's a research that has gone into it, there's a mindset, from the research that has gone into it, so we're not just walking in to say, hey, this is the amount of money that a typical African startup would need. How did we come about that? There's a research to it. This is the level of work or training that is required for these entrepreneurs at this stage of their business to be able to do well. There is a research to it. So it's intentional, and we are continuing to improve our curriculum to ensure that we continue to provide trainings and support that are in relation to current context. Next slide. I think that's all. All right. So in the next 10 years, what are we doing? What are we doing in the next 10 years? So, because I know sitting in this room are leaders who, beyond this meetup, beyond this engagement this week, would want to take on new endeavors, would even want to become an entrepreneur. How many entrepreneurs do we have in the room? Interesting. How many more? Interesting. Oh, I think just put up your hands. You don't know if we're doing selection announcement. All right, so, but seriously, how many entrepreneurs do you have in the room? Nice, I like that. So, how many would want to be entrepreneurs beyond today? You're making up your mind. I'm not doing an altar call. Interested. I think I was getting your attention. Because of the way you were nodding, I like, wait, someone is listening. Okay, so for the next 10 years, from March of 2023 this year, the foundation, put out the announcement for the next phase of the work. And there's a 500 million coalition for African entrepreneurs. Our interest is to be able to support additional 100,000 more entrepreneurs within the next 10 years. Because we believe that 700,000 that showed interest in our program are still interested in doing this. And if we are not able to provide funding, 86% of the ones who funded so far may not have gotten funding. So what does that mean? If we are using that as a sample size to look at the bigger picture, we are saying that 86% of the entire 700 that haven't gotten funded may not get funded if we don't continue to expand on the work that we do. So we're looking at the big picture now, and we're looking at how much more jobs these 100,000 entrepreneurs can add to the African economy, and how much that would mean for communities and households and different other players within this ecosystem. And this is where we're going for the next 10 years. And we're now beginning to engage with partners across Africa, government and stakeholders in different areas, and including South African government, to be able to get this done. I had to mention that. So I think it is. And I'm sure that we are able to succeed. I'm sure that Africa has the capacity to be able to do a lot more. And the fact that we have these young people in this room today, all of us having this conversation, means that we're heading in the right direction. And I know that by the time we are done for the first phase of the program, we will have even a lot more to invest in the next thing for the next 10 years. Thank you very much. Okay, so I would like us to watch one more video, just for 2 minutes. Then we will have some of our entrepreneurs come speak to you about the entrepreneurial journey, just about 3 or 4 minutes. And then we can have the opportunities to have questions and have interactions and see how we can even from this meeting begin to drive further conversation on how we can better support each other. Does that work? Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And when I started back then, my revenue was less than 100,000. But immediately after the state capital and to date, my revenue has increased to 10 million on a monthly basis. My name is Tony Elumelu, founder and CEO of the Tony Elumelu Foundation. I don't know if fingerlings for wheat farmers, for them to rear. We as well rear our own fingerlings to table sizes for the industries like restaurants and barbecue. We are also into smoked fish that we supply to the local market. Remember, way back after my youth service, I came back and I was still hunting for a job. And for a few years, I was hunting for a job and the job never came. I got to hear about Tony Elumelu Foundation in 2016 through a friend, and I decided to give it a shot. When I first started, it was like a joke. I started moving from one eatery to the other, from one restaurant to the other. But today, a lot of people have come to identify with my own kind of smoky fish. The seed capital has contributed a great impact in my business, that's made me to earn a living, also been able to employ youths around my community as staffs and some as contract staffs, and they are also earning living and adding values to their families and themselves. I've also been able to hit and contribute to the SDG goals, which was down on zero hunger and poverty elimination. Hello? How are you doing? Yeah, Carol. Oh, what's the shot me? One of my highest and most exciting moments in my business was when I called my employer and the connection continues, just like that from Florida to Canada. So, I'm so proud that I find myself in this state of being helping even the GDP of the country to grow. My business means hope to me. My business makes me feel so happy. Besides seeing my business affecting lives. Very grateful to Tony and the foundation for giving people like us this opportunity, because a lot of people do not really believe in what we're doing back then at the startup. We are hoping as Zoologist Enterprises that in the nearest future we will become a global brand that will be contributing more to food supply, especially in the agricultural subsector, and thereby creating more employment for the citizens.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ishola. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay. I am a farmer. Even though not the kind of farmer that you would see in the farm, so I am more in post-harvest management. So, I mean, data shows that Africans lose at least 50% of what we farm. So what happens to that?
When I started back then, my revenue was less than 100,000. But immediately after the seed capital and till date, my revenue has increased to 10 million naira on a monthly basis. My name is Paula, founder and CEO of Young Zoologist Enterprises. I am a beneficiary of Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Program.
one in 2020,
the entire water.
pandemic,
It makes it easier for
into training,
the workman.
2020.
It's another fund,
Ever since I was
another
grants,
group for
beyond
the
grants, I mean, one of the things that has been very
At Young Zoologist
impactful has been
Enterprises,
the credibility
we produce
that
fingerlings
we get as a
for
business.
colleague
And
farmers
when people see that,
for them
oh,
to
we have
rear. We as well bear our own fingerlings to table sizes for the industries like restaurants and barbecue. We are also into smoked fish that we supply to the local market and international market.
the accounting part, even customer service, management and things like that. I mean, they really do help you. I have never done a proper pitch before the training.
Remember, way back after my youth service, I came back and I was still hunting for jobs. And for a few years, I was hunting for jobs, and the job never came. I got to hear about Tony Elumelu Foundation
Eventually, I got a call from the Lagos
and I decided to give it a shot.
And they said that it was somebody from the World Bank who insisted that it was us who should.
When I first started, it was like a show.
So we
I
provide
started
machine.
Hi everyone, my name is Nelson Mandela, and I'm the founder and CEO at ICANN Online Tutors. We are an online learning platform for professional accounting and finance students, open to write exams such as ICANN, ACCA, CISA, etc. In 2015, as a non-tech founder that is passionate about technology, I wanted to start a tech business. And yes, I registered the business and started doing some work. So I heard about the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program and I applied, but unfortunately I didn't get in 2015. So in 2016, I tried again, and this time around I got into the program. And this was a game changer for me because there is this bias in the tech ecosystem that if a non-tech founder, you can't build a great tech product. But this, getting into the team program, it was a game changer for me. It means that I could actually go ahead and build a great tech business, and I'm doing that currently. And I'm so much grateful to the founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, Mr. Tony Elumelu, and the rest of the team. The program was very great. You know, we started with the 12-week online program. Then we went to the boot camp, and I'm really happy at that. We've been able to achieve so many milestones since we began this business. And the most recent is that we've launched our Google Play Store, Google app, Android app on Google Play Store. And we're hoping to also launch our Apple mobile app in a few weeks' time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick Acho. I'm the principal consultant of ADPKG Consulting. Okay. prior to me being an entrepreneur, I was working with the Institute of Strategic Management. However, my journey into entrepreneurship was that of passion. I just wanted to do what I love. I just wanted to consult. I used to do pro bono SME developments for SME stands for startups. So I just wanted to do passion. But I didn't know how to go about it. So in 2015, I was listening to a radio on my phone, going to work, and I heard about the Tony Elumelu Foundation. I'm a natural, normal Nigerian, these people are coming. So I didn't really take it serious. Then the next day, the advert came up again on Cool FM. And I was like, wow, okay, let me just try it. So I started the application, but I didn't complete it. I left it. Then, after some months, I saw people celebrating. I was like, wow, I'm supposed to be among these guys. So in 2015, so that was 2015. So in 2016, I applied. And to my surprise, I was selected. I was happy. And did the trainings and all that. Then I was like, okay, after the training, the money come. I was just in the office one day and my phone just ping ping. I just saw the money. And I was like shocked. I just took my chair up. I was happy. So I went home, was now thinking how to go about my passion. So I spoke to friends and senior colleagues, and I resigned. And I went, yes, I resigned. I resigned and I went squarely into business. And Unilag Consulting is a strategy and brand services consulting outfit. And also we also do professional management training, so we're like a study center for professional leaders. So if I could break the word down in Lean Mountain, actually we are printers. We do corporate profiling, we do billboard, display signages, indoor and outdoor display signages, so that's what we do. And the foundation really was helpful, because I was thinking that maybe there will be sector bias, because I don't do products. But it's in the foundation, the training, I now know that my services can also be called products. You get, and that was the knowledge I got from the foundation was wow, it was like a masterclass. I want to encourage you guys when the application is out, as in for you to apply. I want to encourage you to apply, and I want you to know that they don't look at this is my person or this, anybody can advertising law. So thank you.
Hi.
Alright, good afternoon everyone. Happy Nelson Mandela Week. Alright, so my name is Philip Madavchi. I'm the only director of Dignified Brand Colors. We are set and always on the goal to create peaceful spaces for their families or businesses. And the key thing for us is two things. One is aesthetics, and second one is functionalities, either for residential or commercial spaces. And why is this so important? For instance, for Nigeria, we have a housing deficit of about 23 million, and currently we construct about 100,000 homes. That's going to take us a couple of years to achieve. But that is not even the striking thing. The striking thing is finding these maybe artisans, taking the time to go to the market yourself, putting all this together to either create that beautiful office space or that beautiful home can be very tasky. So our work is simple, whether it's painting, whether it's creating your space, whether it's total fit outs for your interior design, we are always there to make that happen for you. So, back to the Tony Elumelu Foundation program, how has that helped us? So before I got into the Tony Foundation program, I tried pitching a number of persons I know in my network to support what we do. Started off with painting, and then I pitched to them, but they're like, no, the other was not choosing for investors and stuff like that. But I kept pushing, and then I was able to start with the one I have, which was good, like Mr. By 2017, ahead of the Tony Foundation program, I was like, this thing real. Nevertheless, because of where I got the information from, so the business community, I went on to apply. So I was surprised on March 7th, 2017, I got an email towards the evening that I should be at the Dream Center, that they're not going to be made that day. At that point, I was like, no, I won't go because, all right, that's how is it possible that among thousands of people that will apply, I will be selected? But eventually, I went, I know I'm good. My name was on the list. So that journey really exposed us to a lot of opportunities. My mindset was wired about the possibilities of what my idea can actually do, and then going for it. So for anyone that intends to apply, I believe the application will open up January 1st. Please go ahead and join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to conclude, our shop open every 1st of January and runs to March 31st, so you're invited to join us and apply. So taking questions now. Any question? No question. 1, 2, take questions.
Thank you. It's fine, so thanks for the work that you're doing. It's really inspiring. I've personally been following the foundation for many years now. So it's good to have an African with an entrepreneurial mindset that is well vested in African entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for that. I am from South Africa, and I really wish in South Africa we had a similar entrepreneur. We don't have yet, not in this stage. So I can say that. So we are very proud of the work that you're doing here. And my question to you is, are you also working with entrepreneurs outside Nigeria? Do you work with up-and-coming entrepreneurs in South Africa, for example, where I am coming from?
So I think that's one of the questions that next to answer.
Maybe we should take the second question.
Second question.
Okay.
That's fine.
I have 2 questions. First one is for the business ideas that we give grants for. Is it businesses that have already started running, or some businesses that are in idea phase? That people some people cannot take steps because they don't have money to start some kind of business. Do you also consider businesses like that? The second question is, for the master class you talked about, the one that the master class talked about, the training that the master class talked about, is there like a time delay, or does you want through traveling?
Thank you. Very interesting questions. Thank you. If you have more questions, I think there's a hand up there. Okay, let's have this.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I have been following the foundation for a long time, actually. And I know I'm taking this from Nigeria. I know that Nigerian people are passionate because on the data, more than 9,000 new businesses were created last year. And I'm a researcher that focuses on front of results and including technology. I do stakeholder engagement as well, and I was able to engage those scale businesses about their challenges. They say that one of their biggest challenges is multiple taxation, and that is what makes a lot of businesses to go down. And that shows that more than 80% of the businesses go financially. Is there a way that the foundation is able to do? Because it's one to create it, and it's one to create it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just take these three questions and then that's it. Thank you. So I'll start with yours. So we have just a little above, we have just a little above 220 entrepreneurs in South Africa that have been trained and funded. And their success stories have been immense. We have a lot more South Africans applying for our program every year. And we continue to encourage more applications from different countries. We have entrepreneurs that we've trained and funded in all 54. So it's not just Nigeria. Of course, you will see that more Nigerians get to apply, but because we want to make sure that we accommodate all entrepreneurs across Africa. So we even go as far as creating, some concession that allows us to encourage more application in areas where we don't get a lot of application. Like in the north, for instance, we don't have a lot of business applying for our program, so most of our communications are usually targeted towards the north to get more people from North Africa apply. And then if we have 10 applications from North Africa, but of course we cannot lower the standard of the program, but we try as much as possible to ensure that the very right ideas and businesses that are doing well that apply from those areas are very well considered. So we have just I think 206 to be exact in South Africa. Okay. So your question was around whether we just fund, is there actually a kind of startup or idea stage businesses that we fund. So we're that inclusive, but we try also to look at the viability of these businesses. Is it workable? I'll give you a small instance. You want to run a tech business, but you're in a rural community where there's very limited access to internet. Do you see the contrast? It doesn't really happen. So I just put that out there as an example. It doesn't mean that we just fund IT businesses in the rural communities, but it has to make sense to the point that we believe that it can work. It's feasible. We're looking at the business plan. And again, we take you through that process that allows you to prepare. Before you ever pitch for your business, on the TF entrepreneurship program, you would have gone through the business planning stage where we even challenge you to look at that idea over and over again, so that you even start to see the practicality of the idea you're bringing. We've had entrepreneurs who have started a program with a particular idea, but got halfway into the training and began to see that there's actually a different angle to their idea that makes more profit than what they decided to do in the first place, and they're encouraged to continue to refine it until they submit the final version. So you walk into the program with a certain mindset, and you're coming out on the other side a refined entrepreneur. So when the money hits your hand, it's very clear how you have to put in the funds. So you're a different person coming out of it, and we're more interested in that process, right? So the training takes like 6 weeks, and it's self-paced. You can log on within the period of that training and decide to take it 1 hour every evening until you're done. Or you can be like me that will just want to focus on it for the next 3 days and finish it and I'm done with it, right? So it's self-paced for 12 weeks period. So you can take it, and just as much as you can take between that time, but you're required to finish before the end of that 12 weeks. But again, we have this other version of our training that's always online. It doesn't have to wait till the training program starts. You can just connect to TF Connect and go to the open-ended training, open side of the training that's not curated for the program particularly, but it's business development training. It's very similar to what you have. Then you can go through that part of the training as well. You don't have to really wait. You can go over to TF Connect and just begin to surf around and get to the part where you have to see training and go all the way down and select the general training and start the training. This is even removing from the program training that starts and runs for 12 weeks. Right? Does that answer your question? Awesome. Your question was around the policy gaps. So one of the things within the ecosystem that we try to engage is the policy areas. And you realize that when it comes to policy, there are a lot of needles to move, and there are a lot of stakeholders involved. And then tax issues constantly become the issues for businesses, and we continue to push and engage. If you look at the engagement of our chairman, Mr. Elumelu, you realize that his advocacy goes beyond just speaking to private billionaires or people who can fund the entrepreneurship program. The engagement goes even to the point where we are now engaging government at international and local levels to be able to make entrepreneurship the key conversation. One of the key conversations that we are now beginning to have, apart from the tax issues, is that we are beginning to have conversations around how we can make entrepreneurs in Africa even much more equipped to make critical contributions to green entrepreneurship and climate change as much as possible. So these are conversations that we are now beginning to have. In the next conference that we'll be attending in September, we are going to be dissecting how small businesses are contributing to SDG. Why are we doing that? Oftentimes you hear people talk about SDG and they're looking at the big pharma, the big organizations and big companies. Nobody talks about the small companies. But we want to now be able to raise a lot of awareness around that and start to have that conversation. So we're doing a whole lot in that regard. But when it comes to policy adjustment, so thank you very much. Thank you.
We can do better. Can we be better? Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us today. You're welcome to University of Massachusetts and the Nation's Life, and the first university in Nigeria that is almost turning its entire campus into entrepreneurship. So you're going to join us and announce that when the new students are coming in, you will join us. The university is starting now completely. All disciplines converted to entrepreneurship this year. So right away from undergraduate. We designed a travel program that will make you to go through that, so you earn 2 certificates. So as you're getting out of the university, you have your BSc Zoology from AI, and again you have what we call the Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Business Certification Program, which are in different categories. So what we want to do is to say that Lagos is the 4th largest economy in Africa. If Lagos State was supposed to be, I'm Sunday Adebisi, Professor of Entrepreneurship and the Director of the Entrepreneurship Center in University of Lagos. So if Lagos was supposed to be a nation, is the 4th largest economy in Africa. And University of Lagos is seated in the heart of Lagos. And we want to ensure the fact that in the next 5 years, not less than 35% of students that get out of this university are coming out with what creating decent jobs. And that's what we're going to do. We're very interested about it. We've had some conversation with Tony Elumelu Foundation before, and I want to thank the South African Embassy for bringing them live. Yeah, these guys can be very useful to grab, and again, too, we are extremely busy, so once we get across to you, and it's on, we move on. But then, we're meeting to the objective to the Entrepreneurship Center to see what we're doing. And this is just my beautiful advice I've said before. You're doing an amazing job. But if you look at the entirety of Africa and look at the universities you have in Africa, you have between the age of 15, 16 to 21 youth in every university in Africa. And now that we understand that the job needs to be created, and many of them have graduated of the university, there's no job to be done, just like my brother's story and my sister's story. You can imagine if Tony Elumelu has a version for the university system in Africa, where you begin to put them together and we do, boot camp and a massive entrepreneurship program for these people. I've suggested it before, I'm putting you at the spotlight. That's the way to go. You will begin to play job out of this university. Their mindset is changed. I'm reading theology, I'm not thinking I'm going to work for someone, I'm looking at the wicked problem of the society that I can solve. So we can do it together. As the University of Lagos will be welcoming you I think next month. When are we doing orientation? September. So we do that with you so that we can do it together and let kids start that from the University of Lagos to do another beautiful program that we'll be proud of. I want to thank everyone for joining us at this session. So our host I believe what we do next. Okay, launch. Maybe we will allow, please, you pack the food of our guests. I'm taking them to Entrepreneurship Center. We have some programming there. So they will just follow me out for better. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. Okay, now so can we take picture, please, picture together. Let's take the first one here. The camera people, okay, yes. You people are going to have tour. You're going to get to my center. I know somebody is leading that. Somebody will take you. I'm expecting you by, I think, 3 days or thereabouts here. So you get to my center, get to my place. I'll take you around what we do. Oh, yeah, you people. I'm taking them first. Because there will be some cards for you. All right, can we have the picture, please? The camera, please. Yeah, for camera.
Like a camera guy. He's what? Clear guy. No man. You're shouting to the speaker. The speaker.
3, 2, 1, action. One more. Last one.